people call him the most influential jazz alto saxophone player, the most influential jazz alto saxophone player since Charlie Parker. Charlie Parker being like one of the people that is considered to be one of the fathers of modern jazz. And so since him, Kenny Garrett has been listed as one of the most influential, and he kind of has a really, really unique style of playing. When you hear him play, he just has such a distinct voice in his instrument. It's like he doesn't sound like a stock alto saxophone.
Does that have to do with the air that you're pushing? Is that really what it is? Like how much air, the intensity? Is that what you get your voice quote?
Yeah, I mean it's the intensity and the direction of the air. But it is also quite literally your voice.
Interesting.
Yeah, there is an aspect of playing a wind instrument that's called voicing. And it has to do with how much of basically this part of your oral cavity is being involved when you're playing. And
I didn't even know that. That's pretty cool, and it sounds like it too, right?
Yeah, and the thing is that it's not something that you really tap into until you've spent a lot of time on the instrument, because no one was talking to that. When I was in 8th grade, no one was talking about that. That wasn't really.
Now that you're skilled, you play around kind of thing, right?
Right. That wasn't a concept that was introduced to me until I was probably a junior in college. A junior in high school.
Damn.
Okay. And then expanded upon, and since then, and every once in a while I'll get a tip from someone that'll help me improve that part of my playing. And the same way that singers, any singer that you can think of, any musician that you can think of, we're all different shapes and sizes, and we all have different lungs, and so people are just are capable of making very specific sounds because of who they are, and some people make it their quest to sound like other people.
Yeah.
It's a lengthy process.
That's one of the things that I was kind of curious, because you're talking about being distinct, their style, and I'm like, dude, people don't really think about that. They just hear the instrument. If you think about it,
Mm-hmm.
If you're listening to a band, nobody's over here like, dude, that guy's distinctly known for this, until obviously you've been trained to recognize what a talented drummer or musician is, for example.
Oh yeah, that brings up a whole nother. That I feel like that awareness plays a big role in just music appreciation, and it also has to just do with kind of it has to do with quality control.
Does it have to do with what you were making people do also? Do you become a legend just because you were getting the crowd going suddenly? Now now people study your style, and now you're an icon?
No, I think there's probably some examples of that, perhaps, but
oversimplified it, obviously.
But there's also just kind of there's a lot of being at the right place at the right time, and being prepared for it, I I'm on the record right now, so it's I hope I don't get this wrong, but Kenny Garrett grew up playing saxophone at a really early age, and was introduced into the jazz scene at a very early age. And one of his big breaks was when he started playing with Miles Davis. And Miles Davis at that time, because we're talking about a saxophone player who's still alive.
Mm-hmm.
Miles Davis was playing bebop with Charlie Parker, in the 40s.
Damn.
And so for you to be around to play with Miles Davis, this was when Miles Davis was doing sort of his jazz rock fusion stuff. And Kenny Garrett must have, at some point impressed Miles that to a point where he said hey, I want you to come on the road with me and play in my groups. And that's where I think Kenny really exploded, and then eventually became his own thing, and that's a lot of times how it goes down, and since then, Kenny has probably had sidemen that have become their own thing because they were sidemen of Kenny Garrett.
Did he know though? Like, did he know at the time that he's playing with greatness?
Oh, I'm sure. I mean, Miles at that point had already had a legendary career. You know, he's played with. I mean, he's made some of the most important music in American history, even at that point. And so I think Kenny probably, you know, he knew the importance of playing with Miles. I mean, he was now granted he was playing a very different. He was at a very different point in his career. Miles at the time that Kenny joined him. But yeah, yeah, without a doubt they knew.
Do you have any favorite performances that not only you've been a part of, but actual concerts also, like, that you paid for? Like, not just performing yourself, like, that you've been to.
Yeah. So I saw Kenny Garrett live.
Again, bro, do you have a t-shirt and a poster also?
It's not that kind of thing.